Hello everybody, happy Wednesday. I was just doing an Instagram post, so last minute, letting people know that the live stream is on. Feels like forever since the last one. Every week I always talk about how quickly these shows come around. Was it only a week ago that my band released our single? It's been so full on, honestly. I can't even begin to tell you how full on it's been. A mental whirlwind, and it's really, really great to see so many of you here. Thanks to those of you that tuned in last week. I hope you enjoyed meeting the band. There are a few technical, hiccups, but that's just the way it goes when you try a new format, especially when you've got 4 other people dialing in, some doing it on their phones and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really, really great, and we've been absolutely blown away by the response. And when I was talking about technical hiccups, it was good. I learned some things because of it. One of which is when you want to show a music video, broadcast, it doesn't have to be a low quality, just a lower quality version of the raw 4K version, or else your computer's going to struggle to broadcast 4K. While also, it has everything else going on. But also, when I was watching in hindsight, I realised that because I was very rushed, a lot of the band came in 5 minutes before the live show was started. I totally didn't realise that it was using my computer microphone and not this one. But because everyone else was using, for the most part, basic microphones, I probably sounded more on level with them all. So, swings and roundabouts. But yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you for all the support. I appreciate that our music isn't to everyone's liking. But at least it was good to talk about, why it's done, the messaging behind it, the whole Unite hashtag. And yeah, it's just been absolutely incredible. And I just did a post earlier today on the band's account. Apple Music featured us on their metal playlist. And Nuclear Blast Records, we're actually distributed by Blood Blast, which is one of their smaller components of it. They featured us, and we were on one of those reaction Twitch streams earlier, a really big one called FYM Reacts, where he'll watch a music video live and react to it, and everyone in the stream was just saying, "This is the best video." They loved the vocals. They thought it was very unique, the style that Luke and I have with our vocals, and some of these songs that are going to be on this album out in February, they've been written 7 years ago. Some of them got released 5 years ago, but then we took them down and got them redone for the album. And we're just so excited. And I think just when it's been that long, you get nervous, it's not that you worry that there's going to be a bad, some people might worry there's going to be a negative reaction. I've never had that concern, but it's the reaction could be lukewarm, +1 enthusiasm, or it could be an 8 or a 9 or a 10. And obviously you want to get to that higher amount, especially in a world where there is so much, I'm going to say noise, but I mean that not in a disparaging way of other music, but there's just so much content out there that, as we've always said in the band, once upon a time you used to have to be the best local band because that was your audience, but now local bands have to be as good as other bands around the world because people are just one click away from listening to whatever music they want. So it doesn't matter if you're not on a massive record label with all the money thrown at you. That's who you've got to compete with. And so, yeah, that's been a lot to take in. Just going through, Bex, really appreciate the enthusiasm. Mojo, thank you. Oh, Johnny, you are far too kind, good sir. Callie Time Cat, hello. Yeah, the band are great. They're truly brothers of mine. It's going good, man. Just it's been very full on. And then last week, because a guest moved, I was out of a guest for a podcast episode, so there was no Quest for Empathy on Monday of this week. Then it got rescheduled, and I was up last night to film it. But my guest, without going into too much detail, they have a pet that was at the vet's having an operation, and so in the second hour, they said they'd have to go pick up the pet. And I was like, look, if you've got all of this on your mind, let's not do this now. Like, you know, you got a lot to worry about, understandably, so you deal with that. So we're rescheduling it. Third time lucky, I'm sure, but she'll be a brilliant guest. So I'm currently scrambling around for a podcast guest to hopefully get something done for Monday. But I've also got to edit a behind-the-scenes video for my band, which will go up next Wednesday. And then we're going to have some more news with the band a couple of weeks after that. So it's all very exciting. So it might be a second week of missing out Quest for Empathy. But also, you know, we've had a good run of like weekly episodes. And so it might be that I have to just come to a conclusion that, you know what, when it comes to the podcast, it's going to be every 2 weeks or something like that, just to pad it out a bit better. But you know, if I can, I would rather do it weekly. So we're working this all out. So that's kind of all the housekeeping. And obviously, Instagram, follow me on there if you haven't already, but I'm sure you all are. Right, let's just go full screen here. Here we are. Right. Now, I did an Instagram post earlier because a friend of mine, she shouldn't have, but it's her 30th birthday coming up in a couple of weeks. And so I got a gift ordered. And she lives in Romania, so it's always about organising things abroad. And then she said, oh, I need your address then. And I was like, fine. And then she was like, oh, I've just sent you some stuff. And I was like, why? It's not even my birthday. And she said, oh, there's 3 things coming now. And one of them came through today. And it came in this cute little orange purse. And then it was a little key ring. And firstly, when I got given this key ring, it made me realise how many keys I've got on here that I don't use. I think they're from like lockers and that when I had previous jobs in the last 10 years. So I've done a lot of de-keying on my key ring. But you always have the smaller loops. But then I've got all these bigger loops. And to be honest, I need to give this a proper clear out. Because like I've got all these big loops. You only need like one, don't you? I don't know. When do you create a new loop? I guess it's when you're likely to take it off, and then those set of keys are for something else. You know, what are the rules with key rings? I'd love someone to help me out with it. But the thing that she sent me was absolutely lovely. It came with this little tree, which is really cute. And then on it, it also had this little statement. And it was because we'd had some conversations about stuff, like life's tough at the moment for a lot of people. Now, if I hold it at the camera, you're just going to see the reflection. You're not going to be able to see anything. But it does have some words on it, which I posted on Instagram. But I'll read them to you now. It says, whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you have come. Remember everything you have faced, all the battles you have won, and all the fears you have overcome. And, you know, as is always the case with these kinds of messages, they're simple. They're, you know, the best kind of knowledge or self-help information isn't really groundbreaking stuff of like, I've never thought of it before. It's more like I've never thought about it like that before. Or sometimes it's just having that helpful reminder. And so I was like, oh, I haven't even thought about what I'm doing for today's live show. And by the way, speaking of live shows, next week, let me look at the calendar. Oh, God. So next week is going to be the live streaming of me in virtual reality playing horror games. I'm really not looking forward to it. But that's what's happening, guys. because the final week, the 27th, will be Q&A. So next Wednesday, if you want to see me get terrified, come to this live show, because I'm going to be in virtual reality playing horror games. Okay, that aside. I just thought, what should we talk about? And I thought, I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to have a discussion about the fact of how far we've come. That, we live in very challenging times. We all have our own challenges, etc. Everyone's really looking forward to the horror stuff. Yeah, great. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, and yeah, Bex puts it very simply. I have to do some polls on what games to do. To be honest, I'll have my console set up so we can pick and choose. Yeah, I just thought it'd be good for us to talk about what it is that has got us to where we are today, even when we feel challenged by that. Right, Beck's talking about the loops. I use the loops for different subsections for organising and ease of use. So that's what I thought. I just need to kind of think about it a bit better. Yes, dekeying. See, I think dekeying is what it's about. So for sure. So I guess the question I want to pose to begin with is like, how is everyone doing at the moment? We're still in a pandemic. There are still lots of economical strains, not just because of the pandemic, but other things as well. But, you have economic stress, you have mental stress, relationship stress. I mean, these things all tie into each other. But the fact, I was watching a piece with Sam Harris just the other day, and I've seen it before, but it was a good thing to be reminded of. And he was talking about the concept of pain. And he says that you really understand mindfulness in the context of alleviating pain, because he says when someone says that pain is unbearable, what you mean by that is the pain is unbearable for the future, like how will it possibly be bared? But what happens is you experience pain, but you might say the pain's unbearable, but you're currently bearing it. It's not to say pain's nice, but you are currently bearing it. And then you might go, but this is unbearable. But the next second, you're still bearing it. You have no choice but to bear with it. And so what you end up doing is not thinking and being concerned with the future, but you're just taking it moment to moment. That in this moment, the pain I'm bearing is for this moment. It is just a moment. Yes, it might last for a long time. It might be unjust. It might be something that could have been prevented. All of these things. But right now, you are bearing with it. And that really taps into what mindfulness is about. We, as human beings, we see ourselves as a thinking brain. So we have the brain, and then we have our sort of soul, or, we're sort of like we're inside this body. And we have the brain that's doing all the thinking, and then we've got our intentions and our consciousness, when in fact, we are all the same. And it could be argued that, the key to mindfulness is to just observe thoughts for what they are. They're constantly emerging, they're coming forward, and they will pass. And so I'm curious to know how many people do mindfulness and meditation. I've spoken about it a lot on previous podcast episodes, but just having a look. Matt says, I'm struggling, to be honest. I've made a lot of bad decisions due to mental health. I'm in a better place mentally, but there's a domino effect. Well, the fact, again, so that's an example, right? You've acknowledged there's a domino effect, and there will be undesirable things that have happened as a result. But credit to you that you're now in a position to see that, and it gives you an opportunity to alleviate additional dominoes from falling, and you're able to do something about it. There we go. It won't last. I'll get through it like I always do. See, it's really, really, really good. I'm a touch stressed and overwhelmed. Nothing I can't currently handle. Great point from Mojo. It's hard to tell yourself it will pass when you're in that state. Of course. And that's why worrying about the future is sometimes or often unhelpful, because you're not going to know until you get there. That's not to say you can't think about planning, but it's kind of like it means that we focus so much on the problem and not the potential solutions, because the problem is here in the now. Solutions are going to be the only way that you get yourself out of it. So that is what you should be investing your energy to. And the thing is, whenever you talk about mental health, things like this, it always comes across like, yeah, you just gotta get on with it. You just gotta, yeah, you'll just get over it eventually. Of course, it's not an easy process. It takes time, it takes tenacity, it takes courage, it takes self-compassion, what we've spoken about before. And so what we have to do is we do have to talk about it, pretty matter of fact, but it's not to take away from the immense strength it takes for you to actually embark on it. And even I go through those struggles in my life. So, I might talk about it a lot from a position of, experience, but these are struggles that that we all deal with. Mindfulness, yes, less meditation lately. So this is a really important thing to say, and I've mentioned it before, that mindfulness is something you can do absolutely anywhere. I did an Instagram post quite a while ago, a carousel of like different things you can do, and when I posted it, I was like, I could have done that a bit better. So I think it's been so long now that I could probably re-edit it and upload it. But the typical example I give is, you pour yourself a glass of water. You could be in the kitchen, you've just poured yourself a glass of water, and mindfulness is in that moment, I'm touching it, I'm thinking about the coolness, sensation of the glass on it, not just the hand, but each finger. Where do you feel the sensation more? So right now, I feel it more on this finger, feel it a bit on my lower finger, I can feel sort of the gravity, the coolness of the glass. If I was standing there in the kitchen and not talking out loud like I am right now, I might be thinking about the quiet, the way that, as my hand is slowly moving, the reflection on the water. And it's just about being mindful. It's about having an anchor, being present. And being present, the easiest way to do that is to stop thinking about your thoughts. So get outside your head and just reflect on something that is there and then. And, you can do that for a minute, if that. And that can really help you. And that's, I could always do more, and I would like to do more, and I will. And I'm avoiding using the word should. Right. With that said, just having a look at comments. Good to see you here, buddy. Hope you are doing well. And also, it has been so long since the last podcast episode because we didn't talk about it last week because it was my band thing. Can I just say a huge thank you to all the incredibly nice messages I've been receiving following the Quest for Global Empathy episode with Brian Poole. It was an incredibly emotional episode, and if you haven't seen it yet, please go and check it out. I always say to my guests, we're just going to talk and see where it goes. And I told Brian, we're no doubt going to talk about horror movies and virtual reality, and we do for 50 minutes. But then it's amazing, we start talking about horror, and he talks about how he finds VR a lot scarier than certain situations he's had in his life. And then when I ask about it, the second half, the second hour of the show is just completely different. And it was a really difficult episode to edit. And by the way, all your comments about the stuff we've just been talking about, I'm going to go back to. So don't feel that we're going to not come back to that. But yeah, it was incredibly emotional. Came out of the episode. Obviously, I was asking Brian, like, how did you feel about it? He was like, well, obviously I didn't expect it to go that way, but it kind of felt good. And then when he saw the episode online and he was listening to it in the background, he said it was a lot more interesting and engaging than he thought it was going to be. And I said I had the same regarding my own stories, that I normally when I record an episode of the Quest for Global Empathy, there's quite a lot more logic and thought in it that I come away from it. I'm like, yeah, we talked about this and this and this. But because the second half of the episode was such an emotional roller coaster, sort of came out of it going, whoa, what, that was, and it was, my memories were sort of the general feeling of it all. And I talked about, Brian talked about some really personal stuff in his life that he was dealing with, huge amount of courage and respect for him doing it. I spoke about a couple of things that I've never spoken about in my life before, and the outpouring of love and support, which, to be honest, I expected, because I've got a very loving community that engages, obviously with a show like the Quest for Global Empathy, but I was just incredibly touched by a lot of the messages I got and comments, and I just want to say thank you, because I didn't get a chance to say it. It would have been a weird thing to start with the band thing last week, so yeah, I just wanted to say that. So huge thank you. Right, going to these comments, right? So Callie, when we're talking about the pain, that reminds me, and by the way, if you haven't already, do hit that like button. Really helps us out. That reminds me of the time when I was experiencing intermittent pain and I really dreaded it. However, I eventually realised that I was spending the nice moments, here we go, the nice moments in between the pain worrying about the next dose of pain. Again, this is not to say it's easy and like, I'll just get over the pain. Like, that is just how the human brain works. But, you know, when it comes to experience and being present and alleviating pain, it's like when you're worrying about stuff, sometimes there are genuine things that you worry about. But then when you're in a new chapter where you can't do anything about it, or it's, you know, you're doing something else, you could keep worrying about it, but it's always about how can you be useful. And Professor Paul Gilbert talks a lot about that with compassion-focused therapy. It's about, you know, having compassion for yourself, having compassion for other people, but it's also about being useful. Because if you're not useful, you're not going to help alleviate pain. You might actually cause more pain to yourself as a result. And he gives the story, and I'm glad he brought it up on the podcast because I love it when he talks about it, that if someone is drowning in a river and you see them and you don't know how to swim, but you're like, oh, I'm really compassionate, and you jump in there, that's not much use because you're now drowning with them. Very nice sentiment to dive in there with them, but, you know, you got to think about how you can be most useful. So Callie says, I decided to try swapping it around and during the focused on the next pain-free moment to come, and somehow it really helped. That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. So I love that the way that you switch that up. Yeah, mindfulness, really good for dealing with tension or having a panic attack. Again, not to repeat too much of Professor Paul Gilbert, but he is a legend. And again, do check out that episode if you haven't already of the Quest for Global Empathy. He talks about the parasympathetic nervous system and the idea that, you know, the sympathetic nervous system is about how we get our heart rate up and we get our energy up when we're engaging with stuff, which requires stress and stuff. But the parasympathetic nervous system is how you do the opposite of it. How do you bring the heart rate down? How do you soothe the nervous system? And there's not a lot of things in society that does it. And so it's by using mindfulness that we can do it. And obviously, if you're having a panic attack, it's a way of just maintaining control. I do it sometimes when I'm having anxiety, when I'm going to sleep. If I feel heart palpitations and stuff like that, I just fixate on the breath and I start counting, and that can really help. I'm just going to sit down, actually, for the rest of this, if you don't mind. Also, I've got some red wine. And I've just spilled some. Great! Right, this is better. Have I got... I do. So I'm just making sure I've got something to mop it up with, because I don't want it to turn this wooden table into like cherry beach colour. And just a reminder for anyone that's just joining, next week I'm going to be playing virtual reality horror games. So, oh my God, I'm not looking forward to that. I am looking for... I had a friend come over the other day. Never had used VR before. I put her in Resident Evil 7 virtual reality. She just raced through it, got through loads of scary bits and was like, yeah, it was all right. I was like, I honestly don't know. That scared the hell out of me. Amazing. There are some 1 minute moments, mindfulness moments. I came across them somewhere on YouTube a while back. Yeah, there's some great guides on YouTube for mindfulness, which I highly recommend. So yeah, definitely recommend that. Ostinator, good to see you here, buddy. Hope you are doing well. See, this is all the love about what I was saying earlier. Really, really appreciate it. And Callie is showing love to everyone as well. Awesome. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Omega. What was the Omega about regarding Sorry if I just missed something. I just need mindfulness to be grounded. I lose touch with the now more often than I like for varying reasons and need to come back. Yeah, it's all about bringing it to the present. And it's not to say that you can't think about the future and you can't reflect on the past. And we are going to get more to that in a minute, actually, because that is what this episode is about. But, yeah. Resident Evil 7 scared. Yeah, I know. My friend was just like, yeah, whatever. But I'll be playing some of that next week, I think. Oh, the chair. Of course. Yeah. Omega. Where is it? There it is. Yeah. This chair is so comfortable. So with today, we were just going to be talking about like the past and how you got to where you are. And I suppose it does relate a lot to my last podcast episode because I talked about some very, very big vulnerabilities in my life when I was dealing with addiction and, isolation. And I was showcasing behavior that was just not good. Not good at all. I remember when I went to my therapist, I think I've mentioned this before, always difficult when you do these long podcasts of knowing what you've said where. But when I was last at a therapist and I made major breakthroughs, she said I had anger issues. And I said, but I never get angry. And my therapist said, yeah, you have anger issues, which I found very, very amusing. But it's, I look back cringing at certain behaviours, but you do that with everything in life. I'd look at old videos of mine, maybe photos of clothes that I used to wear or things that I used to be into or things I used to say. But the reason you feel that way towards your past is because you are now looking at it from a distance. Yeah? If you didn't have that, if you felt indifferent looking back and went, yeah, that makes sense, the chances are you're still in the same place. And so it shows you the importance of perspective that, yeah, you could look back at you and go, look at all these mistakes I made, therefore I'm a bad person. When actually it's like, no, you look at that now with not much fondness because you are a better person. You have improved. And it's important that we talk about our mistakes because there'll be other people out there that have made those same mistakes. Because we always talk about, you should talk about your mistakes so other people don't make them. But I also think you should talk about your mistakes so other people that have made those same mistakes don't feel alone, don't feel stupid about it in a way. You can feel a bit stupid about stuff, but in a way that is detrimental to what you're doing now. There's no point kneecapping yourself if you're in a better place based on values or judgments that you made in the past. And that is, by the way, that is not easy. And that is stuff that I struggled with for years. And I found it so, so difficult. Judging yourself with all the experiences you now have in your brain is pointless because back then you hadn't had them. I learned that about judging myself and things that happened in the past. Yeah, and I mean, there's that whole thing, isn't there, about like how old cells are in the human body. Let's have a look at this. So on average, the cells in the human body are replaced every 7 to 10 years. But those numbers hide in a huge variability in lifespan across different organs of the body. So neutrophil cells, a type of white blood cell, might only last 2 days, while the cells in the middle of your eye lenses will last your entire life. Okay. That's interesting. Wow, it's amazing that there are cells that live your entire life. I didn't even know that. That's really, really interesting. Does this actually label? Oh, this is just the types of cells. Oh, it's what cells live the longest. So the eye one is going to be the longest. Heart cells are probably going to be... Let's have a look here. Oh, man. Always reject all. Right. Brain cells. I love this. Brain cells, 200 plus years, question mark. So the eye lens, lifetime. Egg cells, 50 years. Heart muscle cells, 40 years. Wow. Intestinal cells, excluding lining, 15.9 years. I love that. Very specific. Skeletal muscle cells, 15.1 years. Fat cells, 8 years. hematopoietic stem cells, 5 years. Liver cells, 10 to 16 months. Pancreas cells, 1 year. But yeah, brain cells, 200 plus years. That's really interesting about brain cells, because it's been mentioned that I heard this many years ago, that the first human to live over 200 years old has already been born. I don't know if I'd want to be that person myself, but yeah, it's an interesting thought. A person killed several people with a bow and arrow this evening in Norway. Jesus Christ. And though I feel utterly sympathetic, nothing really surprises me anymore. That's pretty horrific. I didn't even know. I mean, my first question is, like, how did they kill that many people with bow and arrow? But then that's just me being ignorant. I'm just having a look. Wow. Several dead in Kongsberg after man shoots people with bow and arrow. I mean, I'm thinking about it like Robin Hood. But when you see like proper bows and arrows, it's amazing actually how they're built. Oh, my bad. So Kongsberg is southwest of the capital Oslo. Acted alone. At least 4 were killed. Terrible. Some of these comments I'm not putting up on screen just because I know that you've shared them publicly, but I just feel like some of them are incredibly personal. People talking about abuse and stuff like that, and yeah, Matt, so sorry to hear that, buddy. And yeah, it's oh man. So basically, so there's been a story I've wanted to tell, because when I went in therapy, I realised I was dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome because of abuse I dealt with like 10 years ago. And it's a story I've told many people, usually over drinks when I'm hanging out with them. But I've always wanted to tell it publicly, mainly because the person of concern told a story about me, which wasn't true. And it was about 10 years ago. God, it's longer than that, maybe 11, 12 years ago now. And I've wanted... See, this is going to be difficult, because as I try and explain myself, it's going to get closer to me pretty much telling the story, which I'm not going to do. But I'll say it like this. It's the cliche that you hear, why don't victims come forward? It's for 2 reasons. One, it's they don't feel that they will be believed. And that was the case in my situation. I didn't think I was going to be believed. And secondly, it's the fear of retribution. And that was definitely the case. I'd finally put something to bed, and I was worried that if I spoke out about it, it was just going to make things worse for me. So after I came out of therapy, God, it must have been like 4 years ago now. It was also upon learning some more truths about the situation and realising that I'd been right all along and just been gaslit and manipulated. I've been dying to tell my story, but I could do a YouTube video on it, but I just feel that's very, I'm going to say tabloidy, but it's kind of like, there's no way I could do it without a clickbait title, do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel that I want to do it embedded within a podcast. And so I had a guest that was going to come on who is a relationship therapist. And it's one of those things of when I get a guest on, it's not like, hi, do you want to come on my show so I can tell you my problems? But it's someone that I know very well. And I said, look, I want to talk about a lot of things with you, but there is this story that will take about half an hour to tell. I might do it on the podcast, and they're definitely up for it. Unfortunately, they've gone through their own issues recently, so they've not been able to be on the show. So hopefully they'll come on in the not too distant future. But yeah, when seeing other people talking about it and like how you blame yourself, it's one of those things of like, you never see yourself as a victim as well during it. It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre, like, because it's just like a textbook example. And it's like, you read about all these examples and then you never apply it to yourself. And then you're just like, but why? And it's because when you're manipulated or gaslit or dealing with PTSD, your brain's in a cloud and you don't see yourself as a person. You're clouded by those ideas. Sarah was saying that regarding that shooting, the police use it as an excuse to being armed. I mean, our police have armed police, but it's not like everyone's armed. It's just scary in America where you can get like, is it like 8 weeks training or something like that? I'm glad that you got therapy, Matt, and it really, really helped. Dude. So Matt said, had to write a letter to my 13-year-old self and think about what I would say to if I was a child. That really helped forming separation. I had an exercise about that. And that's a lot to do with self-compassion as well, about seeing yourself as a separate entity. I had to write myself a letter about a situation I was in as a way of self-forgiveness, because you're kind of it, yeah. Sorry, there's loads of conversations now about bows and arrows and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, look, without creeping more into it, so there was a news story. There was a YouTuber, a musician who'd done a video on YouTube that had done like 6 million views, and it was on World News, Australia, America. He was in the UK, and it was about this story. And he's friends with quite a lot of YouTubers that I knew. And when he told the story in the first minute, I was like, I'm pretty sure of this. And so I got in contact via a mutual friend, and I found out the person that did it to him was the person that did it to me 10 years ago. It was this like mind-shattering moment. Like, it was like 10 years of me feeling like I was in the wrong, and that I'd, because that's what happens when you're bullied like that. And it was like, I need to go into therapy now to deal with this. And that was a real big thing about it. So yeah. Yeah, all about self-compassion. I appreciate that, Sarah. Yeah, and you've always been incredibly kind to me, and I'm glad that it has been of help. So yeah, so like, when we talk about and Samantha, very, very, very kind of you. I used to watch your videos in 2008. You've always been so good at supporting other people and making mental health less of a stigma. So nice to see you've blossomed into this strong, amazing person. I appreciate that. But it's, the thing I'd always say is, it's not to say I haven't made mistakes. I haven't done terrible things, like mistakes and, things that I cringe at. Like, it's just, that's what life is. And I think that the way we judge people, we should cast judgment on people that do bad actions, but also it's about the journey people have been on. Like, do they actually show a willingness to change? It's like the whole idea of forgiveness. I think people that have a very immature view of forgiveness think it's kind of like a trade-off. Like, do you let me off? For me, forgiveness is like an exchange of acknowledgement. So if you are the perpetrator and the victim forgives, it's not like I'm letting you off. It's like I'm giving you a chance to set things straight, not necessarily with the victim, but like to better yourself, because that's what they want. It's like you can't change the past, and that's not always easy. I feel like these live shows are therapy on their own. I mean, that's what Brian said about the podcast episode. He was like, I don't know which of us were getting therapy, but that's the way it goes. Just 1 second. I just got to check my Mac. Have I run out of space on here? Because it says, no, I've still got 22 gigabytes left. Okay, it's just it stopped recording the show for some reason, but that's fine. But yeah, so we're talking about quite intense issues when it comes to like looking back and seeing how far we've come. But this comes with everything. When you're working on projects, or we're in a pandemic, you're struggling maybe to see people, or dealing with being stuck in, but you've dealt with it before. And it's not to say that there isn't long-term deterioration and quality of life issues that need to be solved, but the whole dealing with adversity, is stuff that you can go through because you've endured it before. And I think that it was interesting earlier. I was talking about not worrying about the future when it comes to pain, because you just got to deal with it now, and you are dealing with it now. So don't worry so much on the future, but you can plan for the future. It's just about not living too much in the future. But then again, on the flip side, in the past, sometimes we disregard the past and we see ourselves as we are just now. And so I'm dealing with this issue. It's terrible. Whereas actually, when we look into our past, we can pull lessons and experiences which make us realise, no, we're actually quite strong with this. We've dealt with this before and we can deal with it again. So, when we talk about the importance of being present, it's using the feeling of being present as a tool to anchor yourself and to take time out and to slow yourself down and be mindful. It's not to say you can't look forward and you can't look behind. Those two things are very, very important. It's great that you talk about topics that people are struggling with and maybe scared to talk about. I appreciate that. I just feel that, courage is contagious. If you speak about your experiences, not just of when you've been a good person, but when you've been a bad person and made mistakes, you just give other people a feeling of like, okay, I've been there. Oh, and look, they've got out of it. This is how they did it. Because some people might make mistakes and they feel like, well, that's just me. But when they see someone who's made a similar mistake, okay, now I'm listening, and now they're not repeating those mistakes anymore, and this is how they feel about it. Oh, okay. So it's not just like they did mistakes and now they're not. It's like, what is the story behind that? What has improved in their lives because they're no longer doing it? And so, it's the whole thing about the importance of opening up conversation, not shutting it down. But issues like shame, we often live in shame ourselves. Again, talking about the stuff I was on the podcast about, I was dealing with immense shame to the point that I wouldn't talk about it with other people. I had really close friends of mine messaging me since that last episode going, I had no idea. And I was like, that's fine, because I didn't talk about it. And the reason I didn't talk about it was I was so in depth with it all. I was just trying to tread and keep my head above water. I didn't have time to tell people about it. Now, maybe I should have outreached and got help, but then what? I don't know what help they would have given me, and I think that's the problem with, not having good mental health services overall, is there's some stuff that, people can't deal with. Because, we've all got busy lives. Some stuff does have to be dealt with professionally. I kept diaries from the age of 11, lots of daily detail. And when I look back at some of the things I wrote, I think, what an idiot, and sometimes worse. Oh, man. Looking back at my old YouTube videos has been quite an interesting thing. Yeah, letter to your younger self, or a video message. Yeah, it's really, really good exercise. And it is important to our own health. For me, forgiveness is most of all for one's own sake. People might ask for forgiveness without the forgiveness really relating to what one wants forgiveness for. Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're the person asking for forgiveness, it's also about wanting to move on, isn't it? And for people that are victims, maybe you've had a family member murdered and they do those incredible things where in the courtroom they hug the murderer and say you're forgiven. They do that as a part of their grieving process. They're like, I can harbour all this anger and resentment for the rest of my life. But that's just like a waste of energy. Instead, I could move on, which is remarkable. It's remarkable when people can do that. yeah, talking to people and realizing that you go through the same thing, it makes us all feel less alone. And that is one of the most important things you can do in life, is feel less alone, because it's all about a feeling, a sense of belonging. By the way, because we got like 15 minutes left, did anyone watch the blue, what's it called? Is it Blue Orbit? Oh, sorry, I'm so tired. Is it Blue Orbit? No, Blue Origin. Did anyone watch this today with William Shatner going up into space? The oldest man to go into space. Let me. It's like Jeff Bezos. It's like ugh, but William Shatner. I've spoken about this before on the episode with Mike Figueredo about I called it the overture effect. It's called the overview effect. So it's the concept that once you go into outer space and you see the planet, how fragile it is, it changes you. And William Shatner, no, he played Captain Kirk. Hey Paul, good to see you here. Good to see you here. Yeah. Seeing it go up, and you don't really see much. I don't know if they've released video of inside since, but William Shatner, when he came off, I mean, he's in his 90s, and I think he just turned 90, and he was like shaken. And there was a bit that really annoyed me where he starts telling this story quite shaken, and then Jeff Bezos is like listening to him, and he's like, oh, wait, and he sort of walks on and goes, hey, they got champagne. He's like, do you want champagne? And like William Shatner's like, no, like, and it made me think two things. One is either William Shatner doesn't drink, but the second thing, which I don't know, if he doesn't drink, then that's fair enough. But my main thought was, if he does drink, I think the reason he doesn't want to drink is because he doesn't want to lose what he's just experienced, because he then starts talking about everything he saw. He says, this feeling inside me, he says, I don't want to lose this. I need everyone to feel this. And he spoke about how you look up into the atmosphere and you see blue sky, and the blue sky is amazing. Let's I don't know if I'm going to get a copyright strike for this, but
And here comes our crew back into the
so that was when it
home. It is welcome Ross Housing. Glenda.
There they are on the top of it. There you go, there's takeoff. It is amazing. The acceleration, the speed. Also, because they used all the tech that Elon Musk does, where the actual rocket is reusable when it detaches, and when it comes back and lands, check this out. It doesn't look real. Oh, it's already landed here. Wait, it's just... Yeah, here we go. It's coming to the ground, yeah? Check this out. This does not look real when it happens. It looks like CGI. Because when you think of like the weight of it, and like how it's just, with all the wind and everything, it's coming down. So they're not in it. They're in space at the moment. But look at this. Reverse thrusters. The sonic boom sound is amazing. But look at this, right? The thrusters, and then... Look at that. That doesn't look real. That looks like CGI shit. I love like the drones as well that can just film so smooth. It's just like the tech we got now. But they come out. Yeah. And William Shatner is just like totally... Yeah, this was it. This was the bit that annoyed me. So he starts telling his story. And look, and then he goes, hey, over here. Look, he's still talking about it. William's like talking about it. And he's like, yeah, bring this drink. And then William Shatner, he's like, no, I don't want to drink. And so Jeff Bezos starts spraying it. Which is sort of, for me, so, It's like William Shatner was having a moment. He's like moving away from it. He's not interested. He's just witnessed. And then Jeff's like, I want to hear more about it. Well, they're getting sprayed. And like William Shatner's like, I don't care about the theatrics. Bless him. And then he just like, I urge you to listen to what he says, because he just starts talking about it. But the main point he makes is because it's all about the fragility of human existence, that you look down and it's like a blue marble. They're obviously not going that far out into space, but they see the curvature of it. But he was talking about how you go up, you got this comforting blue sky, we've got this beautiful blue sky all around us, and within seconds the blue just vanishes, and it is the coldness of space. And he says it's like, here we have life, and up there it's just cold death, like there's nothing. And he says that the fragility of human existence, and that is what the overview effect is. So yeah, Bezos is about being a showman, definitely. No worries, dude. Not going to hold it against you. Yeah, the Bezos theme intensifies. It's amazing to think it was just an 11-minute flight over in a flash. You get longer on the London Eye. Quite bizarre, though, having to go out into space in order to realise how fragile it is. By all means, waste resources in order to get... Yeah. Look, I get you. Like, honestly, I feel like, yeah, and I think virtual reality is going to solve it. But it's like you can tell a kid, don't touch the pan, it's going to burn you. And until the kid knows what burning is and the feeling of, sometimes you don't know. And it's, that is what experience is about. There are some things that you have to experience, and we know we're fragile, but this is what astronauts have always spoken about. And there was the quote that I've mentioned before. I just searched scruff of neck. Oh, here we go. Look, speaking of that, scientists attempt to recreate overview effect from Earth. Ian Sample, I used to work with him. Researchers aim to recreate intense emotional experience astronauts reported on seeing Earth from first time in space. If the trial goes well, what led Mitchell to develop an instant global consciousness and a profound connection to Earth and its people could be recreated with nothing more than a flotation tank, half a ton of Epsom salts, and a waterproof virtual reality VR headset. Oh my God. I was asking about this because, I love my flotation tanks. I was asking if they ever did it with VR or like projections on the inside. Okay, that would be amazing. Much cheaper. I want to find that quote. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. This was it. He says, from out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty. You want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, look at that, you son of a bitch. I just love these photos. Let me get it. Oh, man. Can we get a good photo? Look, I love it. You click it and it's always much smaller. No. Can I reject all? Yeah. Open in a new tab. Yeah, I mean, it is just amazing. Because you don't realise how black is black. Like, it's absolute black. It is crazy. Oh, I always touch the pan. Oh man, there was loads of jokes about William Shatner saying here's him with the crew, and William Shatner was wearing his Star Trek uniform, and the others were wearing red shirts. I know you're a tech lover, but to be honest, already when you promote the Venus Project, you at some extent. Why did I lose you though? Why did I lose you with the Venus Project? Yeah, man. I mean, this is what the Quest of Global Empathy about. It's like, how do you create the conditions for people to be more empathetic? Education comes from experience. You know, we always think about education in quite a clinical way of like, it's just about knowing information. But experience is like, for me, the glue of information. It's the application of information. It's the understanding. And that's all really, really important. Right. Okay, we have 5 minutes left, so I'm up for taking any questions. Or, by the way, if there are any suggestions as well for future episodes, let me know. But next week, I'm going to be playing virtual reality horror games. Oh, God, why? And then the week after, it'll be the last Wednesday of the month, so it'll be just Q&A. But what I will say, actually, while you're posting any questions that you have in the chat... I love the footage from the Hubble Ultra Deep Field, which zoomed in a seemingly black space, a little black dot, and it's found thousands of galaxies. We are so insignificant. It is amazing. What would you take into space with you if you went? As in, like, what do you mean? Like, something I'd want to put out into space, or just like something I would want to do? Like, you know, some might take golf clubs and that. I don't know, actually. Oxygen. Yeah, sorry, oxygen, yeah. Yeah, virtual reality horror games. I don't know what I would take. I'd probably take a pen and paper. You don't often see people doing that, do you? I'd want to write lyrics when I'm up there. Oh, man. Yeah. In 11 minutes. Yeah, so I was going to say was, if you haven't already and you missed last week, my band Schemata Theory. We have a new music video that's hit 10,000 views. Thank you very much, everybody. And lovely comments, by the way. We love to see them. And yeah, do give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. It says, oh no, it's because I'm not logged in. But also, if you're on Spotify, please do add voices to a playlist. And listen to it lots, because it really, really helps us. We're trying to get over 200 monthly listens at the moment. We're at 185, but it's at a 2-day lag. But also, schematatheory.com, if you go there, it has the pre-order for our album, Unity in Time. This is coming out February of next year, and the only physical copies you can get of our album are in these bundles. If we sell loads of bundles and, you know, we make enough money, then we might do another print of, you know, physical copies. But as we currently see it, we feel that just selling physical copies with the bundles is what it is. So you can get it with either a t-shirt, or you can get it with 2 t-shirts. And the second t-shirt is, actually, can we bring these up? So yeah, you get a lot of bundles. You get a little, I think that's a little pin actually of the hourglass. But yeah, the hourglass with the flower. Oh man, it's so beautiful. Photo, got little stickers and badges. The album, and then we've got. Oh, this is the one that's got the enamel. But yeah, the second shirt. To be honest, I can say what it is. This single is, because it says it on the shirt, and it was already mentioned by one of the band last show. It's called Mind Eater. Actually, you know it anyway because it's on the track listing that's been released on Apple. So yeah, Mind Eater. I can't wait. So Mind Eater, as you can probably expect, is about anxiety. So you've got a skull that's in a snow globe, which I thought when I saw that artwork, I was like, that's amazing. So yeah, and that's the artwork for the album. Man, this artwork, and I can say it because we didn't do the artwork. This artwork is fucking amazing. Like, and we spoke about what he'd said was the meaning last time, but just, I mean, you can zoom right in. The quality of the flower and the cracks, you know, letting the light in and then the darkness out the bottom, and the fact that it's growing out of the last, you know, the last bit of hope coming out of the last moments of time. It's incredibly symbolic for what we've got. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to how you support the band, I'd say there are 3 tiers. One is just listen to the music, like, share. The second way is, you know, actively spreading the word, being a part of our Facebook group, you know, just telling other people that you know about our music. And then the third way is financially, and the way you do that is with these pre-order bundles. They're £30 and £45, depending on which tier you want to go for. Then also, we do actually have merch for the single that's just come out, Voices. So we've got hats and we've got T-shirts. But check it all out. But let me just read this little bit that I wrote about the album that's on the website. This is what I said. I've actually written essays about each of the songs as well, which will release at some point actually. But it goes... Unity in Time is Schemata Theory's acknowledgement that the struggle continues as we all try to create, develop, and deepen much-needed connections in every aspect of our lives. Connections with ourselves through self-compassion and mindfulness, with the natural world by accepting that we are nature and not above it, and with each other through empathy because our common humanity exists beyond the fear, ego, and thus defensiveness that stands in its way. So that really taps into a lot of the issues with it all. But yeah, right, I'm going up the chat now quickly. And yeah, keep using the hashtag Unite. Man, we're so proud of how people are using that. Really, really happy with it. Better off with a pencil in space. Agreed. Space, desert, island discs. Love it. You said scroll up, scroll up. Oh, you were asking about the Venus Project. You said, as you see it, and saw it back then, is this truly what you want, even though it's unlikely it was available? Well, I think a resource-based economy is an inevitability because as technology improves, technology removes the middleman out of all industries. You know, it connects the consumer with the producer, and money is the last thing in the way of, like, how do you measure how much to produce and how much to buy, the supply and demand. But when technology gets so good that faster than you can calculate the price, it will know the efficiency of this is the demand for food and necessities of life, and this is the output we can do with, you know, the sun and renewable energy. Money is no longer going to be a necessary tool. So yeah, you'll link on Facebook. Cool. Still got the merch. Hell yeah. Mojo, you pre-ordered the first bundle. Well, thank you very much. Honestly, thank you so much. Samantha, awesome. You see, Samantha, you ordered the Voices one, did you? Amazing. Yeah, the artwork is really good. And do you know what, Sarah? We'll do an episode on. There we go. That's an episode we can talk about. Come on, guys. I'm gonna head off in another 6 minutes. Myles Dyer live show ideas. So we got VR/gaming. I'll do some gaming sessions. Maybe we could do it like once a month. Once a month, I just do gaming live. I don't know. We'll see. Although I feel like maybe it should be done on a separate day. Maybe do it on a Friday or something like that. Resource-based economy. Question, is it like utopia? Yeah. Cool. A meditation session. Okay. Do you know what? I've still got a recording of a guided meditation I did. Yeah, for me, the Venus Project, and we should definitely do this on an episode, is it utopian? Yes. It's like, this is the goal. Let's see how far we can get. But Jacques Fresco, who wrote about it, a lot of the things he mentioned is all coming into fruition now. You know, he talked about, if a car can tell you that the oil needs changing, why can't it change the oil? And now you've got all these like smart cars. He talked about, you know, removing human drivers. He talked about toilets, that when you flush them, it uses wastage from the sink and not clean drinking water. Okay, tips for newbies and stuff like that. Okay. Oh yeah, we were going to do the quiz at some point as well. All right, and by the way, if anyone buys any merch of my band, let me know, and I'll send you a personal video message on Instagram or something with thanks. Just DM me and show me the receipt, and then I'll send you something. I'd happily do that. Listen, guys, it's been absolutely wonderful. I felt a bit hesitant doing today's episode just because I've been thrown off with the podcast stuff not going great in terms of getting episodes done. And I've just been so burnt out with the band stuff because we've had a lot going on, but it's been so amazing, and we're just absolutely thrilled with the response. And, you know, we've only shown you one song. There's many more to go. And I've had this pretty fun idea for our next single, and it required doing a lot of research and getting some people into the fold, and I got confirmation this week that it's all done, so it is going to be happening. So there will be something before the end of the year, and also we will be touring the UK. Details yet to be confirmed, but will be confirmed very soon, because it's looking like it will be in November, and it will be across the country, and yeah. Oh man, we got practice coming up, actually, obviously, and we're just really excited to get out there. I mean, as a band, we normally play like one gig every few months at most. So if we do a 4 or 5 day tour, we're going to basically have played more gigs in a weekend than we've played in like the last 3-4 years combined. So like learning stamina and that's going to be a real good lesson for us, but we're really excited for it. Yeah. All right. Cool. That is it, guys. I'm going to end it there. I still haven't got an outro. I need to design an outro. I mean, there's loads of things I'd like to do. Adios till next time. Love, respect, empathy. Adios till next time. Yeah, guys, seriously, love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I will see you on Instagram because that's where I'm active. And yeah, if there is no podcast episode next Monday, then I will just see you on the Wednesday. And yeah, even though the Mondays are recordings, I'm always in the live chat. So they're at the same time. And yeah, just always appreciate the onward support. So much love. Have a good one.